Real talk, the metaphor Messiah, man. I got this one. Let's go. You ever seen the morning star? Mr. Metaphor Messiah, back to show you who we are. I represent a legacy, a pothead like the 70s, a different kind of mind. They say we only speak in melodies. Legend in the game, I think I found a solution. Got a crazy kind of flow, I need a verbal institution.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, Dead on Dave, and we are coming at you from Germany. Now, I know we didn't do Monday Night Raw live review last night because I was just exhausted emotionally, physically, just completely worn the hell out. However, I have caught up and watched Monday Night Raw. And while it was the typical back and forth of not very good and pretty good, there were two moments last night that I would say qualify as almost epic. And maybe you don't realize it yet, or maybe you refuse to acknowledge it. And that's completely, that's okay to me. I don't care. That's for me. Last night, we saw two things that signify and count as actual payoffs. One is a payoff you wouldn't expect because it came from an unlikely source as far as placement. The other is a payoff that we thought we were going to see months ago that is finally happening now. And both of them are significant for completely different reasons. Except for this, they're linked by the fact that it's pushing things forward in a very positive way. Now, I could sit here and talk to you about how Monday Night Raw in other instances last night really under-delivered at times. And there were a few really cringe-tastic moments. And just to touch on them real quick, the opening, the entire opening, awful. And that Sheamus Cesaro fucking segment in the bar. Oh my God. Wow. Really, really bad. Like, really bad. But still, okay. Now that we got that out of the way, I got your criticisms out of the way now. You know, you could be happy. Dave shit on Raw. So, all right. Now, let's get to the things that I really, really loved. We're going to start with Paul Heyman. Stop me if you heard this before. Paul Heyman may have cut one of the greatest promos in wrestling history. He does this. But he did it in a way last night that we're not used to him seeing. Now, you guys have heard me on this channel talk about where they need to go from the whole Survivor Series situation with Goldberg and Lesnar. This was one of the situations that I was saying needed to happen. I wanted it to also have just pure chaos and destruction out of Lesnar, but I wanted a visibly shaken Paul Heyman. And that's what we got last night. He was shaken. He was distraught. You saw his face. He hadn't shaved. His eyes looked like he was crying during the interview. It was unbelievable. The emotion that he elicited, and he went to the route that I wouldn't have liked a little bit, but he did it in a way that was perfect, talking about how we didn't see this. We didn't expect this. It was a video game. It wasn't supposed to be real. We took it lightly. I didn't like the take it lightly thing, but at least I didn't think I would. But in execution, it was perfectly done. And because he went to the place that I wanted him to go with now you have a focused Lesnar with something to prove. Do you have any idea of what is going to happen now? That's exactly what I wanted to see. It's a wonderful payoff for, let's call it a mixed reaction. Let's be kind, from Survivor Series. You know, some people like that instantaneous, short-term pop and surprise from Goldberg beating Lesnar. I mean, some people are very much happy with that. It's shocking. Nobody saw it coming. Just because it's shocking doesn't mean it's good. Just because it's new and unique doesn't mean it's good. And I think the jury's still out on this ultimately. However, they're going in the right direction because this is a build-up to WrestleMania. I like that they're not announcing a singles match between Lesnar and Goldberg at Royal Rumble. I like that they're just going to both be in the Royal Rumble match. Yes, there is a little bit predictability here with that. We know they're going to, one of a couple of things, they're going to double disqualify type situation. They're going to take each other out of the match, or one's going to cost the other. We know something like that's going to happen. But as long as it's executed properly, and as long as they both destroy a lot of people while doing it, even though some people are not going to be happy with the burial of the roster, it's still going to get us to where we want to go as far as a final confrontation between Goldberg and Lesnar. Ultimately, hopefully, they could still make this right with Lesnar retaining the juice that everybody talks about, the momentum, the ability to give the rub to somebody else at a later date. That's what most traditionalists, and I'm one of them, feel needs to happen, and more than likely it will happen. And I like this build. I love what Paul Heyman did. It's instantly one of my favorite promos I have ever seen in history of wrestling. I really did enjoy it that much. He gave me chills, man. And Paul Heyman does this, but I mean, this was so unique to Paul Heyman's character. It was a different layer, a different level, and he just showed how good he really is. He didn't come out screaming and talking about the beast. No, he just sat down and talked, spoke. It was incredible. Well done. Bravo. Cheers, Paul Heyman. Incredible job. We also saw something else from last night, which I have to say was absolutely incredible. The two matches between Charlotte and Sasha, one being a throwaway, wasn't much. Okay, we've seen Charlotte and Sasha in so many different matches. We've seen them fight a lot, and it feels like maybe a little bit too much. We've seen multiple back and forth ping pong of the women's championship, which some people are not a fan of. I can be not a fan of that, but it depends on how it's done. A lot of the ping-ponging had to do with the fact, at least we thought, that Sasha has been hurt and maybe they're not confident that she can have a sustained long run as women's champion. But maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe it had a little bit of it, but maybe some of the losses were a little bit more planned than we thought they were. You have Charlotte win at the pay-per-views and Sasha continue to win on Monday Night Raws for these big moments on Raws. It's kind of an interesting concept. As long as there was some kind of payoff at the end of it, this was going to make everything worth it. Now, a simple payoff would have been Charlotte ending the rivalry and starting new feuds. It seems like they were building her and Bayley. It seemed like last week they planted the scenes for Sasha and Nia Jax. This week they flipped it on the head and they did something a little bit unexpected in some terms. In others, it's just another example of not winning in your hometown. But I feel they did it in a really unique way. I also absolutely love the tap out at the end, the bank statement on the bars like that. That was really cool. I wish it would have been drawn out a little bit more. I wish we would have saw a little bit more suffering from Charlotte. But Charlotte deserves a lot of credit. I enjoyed watching her talk to herself as the match went on. It was very old school. She was losing it. I've seen Ric Flair do this in matches in the past, and I've always enjoyed it. I've always been a fan of it, and I feel like we really did see that emotion out of her in a different way than we usually did. Yes, she cried, and she always cries, but still, it was very, very cool. Sasha getting the rub from Rick at the end. Now, it's an obvious move. It's in Charlotte. The last time we saw Ric Flair, Charlotte told him, "You're dead to me," and all of that. So this was an obvious move to make, but it was done in once again, an understated way. Rick didn't come out and take the spotlight off of Charlotte, at least not in my opinion. He just gave her the rub. There was no words, which I think is very important. There was an embrace. There was a hug. There was a gesture. I like that. I thought it was very well done. I thought they did a lot of good stuff here, and we got a lot of interesting things going into the future. Now, where would I go from this point on? Now, that's a good question. I think one obvious role for Charlotte is Dana Brooke. Dana needs something. So breaking them up and having them in a rivalry, a feud, lasting for a little while is a smart way to go. For one, to keep Charlotte away from the title, which I think is very important. And you do this, you accomplish it very easily. You do it on Monday Night Raw next week. Charlotte gets her rematch. She's going to, and Dana just costs her with stupidity, and then Charlotte's able to blame her. It's a very easy story to tell, but it gets Charlotte out of there quickly. You want Charlotte out of this situation as fast as humanly possible. Get Charlotte and Sasha away from each other for a little while, okay? Look, they're both young. This feud is not over. This rivalry is not over. They're going to wrestle again. That's okay. Keep them away from each other now. You have enough women that you can highlight, enough feuds, enough rivalries that you can highlight now to keep them away. Dana Brooke, Charlotte, perfect way to go. Sasha, on the other hand, she's got two potential routes here. You can go the slow burn route, where you have Nia Jax and Sasha going until Royal Rumble and having a match at Royal Rumble with Sasha going over Nia. And then after that, you build the match that people have been waiting for, Sasha and Bayley. This is a match that has headlined events in the past. It is the first ever main event in WWE history for women when they main evented NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. They're not going to main event WrestleMania, but that match, because of who they are and how over they are in different manners, that is something that they could sell on a huge scale, and it instantly becomes a non-forgettable situation. It's something you can build. Now, you can go a different way here, too. You can go Bayley and Sasha right now, and you can have them at Royal Rumble. That's an option, too, because of, again, age here, youth, young. Do you really want to burn that now at WrestleMania? You go ahead and you put them at Royal Rumble, and then if you want to have them again at Mania, you can. But because they have such a long history together, you don't need to have a match before it to get to Mania. So that's why Nia makes sense. There's a couple of different ways to go here, and I really don't think that there's a bad route to go. That's all good for, tomorrow and the next day in Royal Rumble and Mania. But I got to give, once again, a little bit of credit to last night for those two segments, Paul Heyman and Sasha Banks and Charlotte. Charlotte deserves credit, too. Because they gave us two very, very huge moments in the same Monday Night Raw that I feel gives service to the art of the payoff. This is a payoff for each situation. Now, for Heyman, it's more of a mid payoff because it's in the middle of the situation, but it gives you a little bit of hope and joy, and I don't know, it just gives you that payoff feeling that Goldberg-Lesnar wasn't for nothing. Relief, I think, is a good word. And then, of course, the big payoff of the night, the payoff of the last 6 months, and arguably even the payoff of the goddamn year, because these two have been in each other's hemisphere for so goddamn long, Charlotte and Sasha. With Sasha becoming a 3-time WWE Women's Champion. Now we need to see a long run out of her. WrestleMania, she needs to hold that belt till then. And then if you want to give it to Bayley, that's completely fine. It's going to be very interesting to see where they go from here, but they gave themselves some good options. Was Raw a home run show last night? No. There were some problems, but it was a good show. It was an entertaining show overall. We did see some good build-ups. We got Rollins and Jericho moving forward. Yeah, we had to sit through Reigns and Kevin Owens, which wasn't a bad match by any stretch, but I don't know. It feels too early for Roman Reigns to be back in the title picture, and it is a little bit unfortunate. But on the other side of that, it's kind of a good scene, a good feeling, a good sign that they're doing it now at Roadblock instead of a more important pay-per-view. Does that mean Owens and Chris Jericho at Rumble? I don't know. Finn Balor, I'm sure they are hoping he comes back to kind of help muddy this situation or maybe clear it up, depending on how you look at it. It's going to be interesting. But the point is, Raw did do a good job of giving us options and furthering and putting some feuds out there, getting them started, getting them going, and progressing storylines. Even Sheamus and Cesaro in that horrible segment that they had, they're a team now. They're unified. Who knows what they're going to do? I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to take the belts off of the New Day. That's what they're going to do. And that's okay. It needs to happen. I really thought, speaking of the New Day, I really thought the club was going to win that belt for a moment last night. Those belts off them. Woo. That was cool. All right, anyway, that's all I got, man. Raw was very interesting, had some good payoffs. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want to hear your thoughts your comments. Go ahead and throw it in the comments section below or hit me up on Twitter at DeadOnDaveV, all right? Also, check out my Discord. Links in the description box. Get in there and talk wrestling with me. I'm very accessible there. You can find me, talk to me, say what up, how, all that good stuff, all right? Thank you very much for joining me right here on Dead on Dave Productions. Like, subscribe, and share. And as always, if you don't have talent, have talented friends like all those mean mofos on my featured channels page right at the front of my YouTube page. You'll see it. Featured channels. Boom. Thank you very much for joining me. Keep it copious. And peace.